Yes, good morning, everybody. Okay, we're going to begin our review, and let me just bring this up. Okay. So let us quickly go through what we discussed last week. So we're very glad and happy that we had a full week of Master giving us the morning talk, and we haven't had that in a while. So we're very happy, and I think definitely we cherish that every moment. So last week we talked about the review. Okay, so last week we were still talking about the reruns from the TV from long ago, and it was back in 2014, and it was in chapter 2. And what we talked about was Masters talked about how difficult the Bodhisattva path was. And we briefly talked about why it is difficult. It's not just the time that it's long and that makes it difficult. In fact, that's because the path is difficult because it's doing something that we're not so used to. We're used to helping ourselves. We're used to benefiting ourselves, but we're not used to helping others and doing something out of our ways to help others. That is sort of not what we're used to do, but now we are learning. It's difficult because we have to get used to it. It's not hard, but it's just something that we're not used to, okay? It's almost like, you're brushing your teeth with your right hand, but all of a sudden your hand is broken. Now you gotta wash your teeth with your left hand. Brushing teeth is not hard, but you're not used to brushing it with your left hand. That's what it is. And the path itself is not hard. You just have to get used to it. And that's the first part. Why is it difficult? Because we're not used to it. It's something that we haven't grown accustomed to it. So also, why is it difficult? Because we have to do something outside of our comfort zone. It's not something that we're used to, and it's not something that we are comfortable in doing. Maybe we're comfortable in helping ourselves more than we're helping others. Not only that, but people that are suffering, the people that are needing our help, they don't choose the time. They don't choose the time at your liking. So it's not like, oh, this is weekends. This is Saturday when I'm free. This is Sunday, I'm free. And therefore, let me do something. Let me do something to help you. And you need help on Saturday. It doesn't happen that way. People get sick. People need help on the days of not of our choosing. And therefore, we had to do something for them, not at a time of our choosing. So that is why it is hard to help others, because they don't choose at this time perfectly for you. So we are blessed because our lives, we get to choose. We get to choose on Saturday and Sundays, we get to become volunteers. And Monday to Friday, we get to work. And our families are running along just fine. We get to choose. But when did the rain ever choose a good day to fall? It never did. It's always at a time when, oh, I'm doing this, or oh, I'm doing that, or I haven't done that. Look at how many people's dream was shattered when the earthquake came or when the rain came. So it's never a good time. Yet the time of helping people is never at a time of our choosing. And that is why it is also difficult. And not only that, there are people that you may or may not like. But when people need help, you have to help them whether you like them or not. Now, it could be a people of certain origin. It could be a people of certain belief. It could be people of certain nationality. You might not like them of whatever reason, okay? Maybe there's no good reason whatsoever, but you may not like them at all. But when you are on this path, you are doing something to help them. And you're doing that not because you like them or you don't like them. You're doing that because you're a Bodhisattva, because that's your task, that's your mission, and that's why you're here. So that is why it is so difficult. That's what we talked about last week, that it's a very difficult path. But how do we not deviate from the path for such a long, long time? How do we do that? And Master from the video told us from 2014, Master told us just to follow Buddha's teaching and do as Buddha did. That's very simple instruction. Do what the Buddha did. And what did the Buddha do? Well, Buddha came to the world with one great cause. And what did he do? Well, there was one very selfless and fearless teaching. And what was that? And that was to make sure that everyone did what he did. he already came through the same path that we're experiencing right now. So he knew exactly what difficulties that we're gonna get. So he showed us, Buddha showed us and taught us what we needed to do in order to become just exactly like him. And he also mentioned, Buddha also mentioned that he was not afraid that everybody became like him or that everybody surpassed him, because Buddha was confident in that that was his goal. He didn't have to be the only Buddha in this world. He didn't worry about everybody becoming like him, and therefore he become not so special. That wasn't what he was afraid of. Yet we ordinary beings, we always hold back. We hold back in our learning and thinking that if I don't teach others, I become the best. I am the best and I am the only one that could do that. Similarly to what our master is teaching. If you look at our master Cheng, it's the same thing. Master will always want us to be better than her, or even to be definitely better than ourselves and improve. She was not afraid of other people catching on and learning what she does. That's not her, that's not what she was worried about, right? She was only worried about, Master was only worried about that we don't work hard enough to become as better as we can. So that was the key, and that was very important. So Buddha was selfless and fearless in teaching, not worrying that others will become like as good as Buddha, and in a way, Buddha became not so special anymore. In fact, it was Buddha himself that said everyone had this Buddha nature, that we all could be Buddha, yet it was that it was the affliction that made us not being able to. The second thing that Master also said through the story was that we had to be aware of what's happening around and to us. So the story of Ananda and Vajisya from last week was that they're both practitioners, they're both cultivators. And Vajisya was the one that realized that his eyesight was following this very attractive young woman. And so he realized that after a while, he regained his ability to contemplate and realize and repented how, as a practitioner, he was still attracted to such desires. And that was a time when he was asking Ananda, I would give my life so that I would continue to practice and cultivate. The conduct that I have is completely unbecoming of a practitioner, and what should I do? And he was willing to give his life to show that he was really devoted. And Ananda said, I think the wisdom didn't leave you. The fact that you're realizing this means that your wisdom is still within you. The most important part is to quickly be aware of what's happening to you, and you can quickly adjust. And the more you do that, the more you will be accustomed and used to doing this. And slowly you will be able to uphold your precept. And that was be aware. Be aware of the surroundings and be aware of the thoughts that are coming up. Okay, and the third part, obviously, we talked about was you need virtuous friends to help you in times of need. And that was the whole idea of the Bodhisattva path being walked on by all the people, not just you and I, but everyone. So you need to have virtuous friends to help in times of need. And that was very important, just like Vajisya and also Ananda. So that was what we talked about last week. The Bodhisattva path itself is not easy. So this week, we're also going to talk about, we're also going to continue our Master's teaching. And I like to do this something a little bit different. Rather than talking about every day what Master said, I sort of put them all together, and I try to come up with some of the key points that Master, including today, was trying to share with us. So there are three key points that I really want to bring out. So the first is the vow to continue the Dharma. And this is a very, very strong vow by our Master to continue this Dharma, to transmit this Dharma throughout the time that she has, regardless of the conditions. Okay, so this is what that I think is very important. For the first few days, it was all talking about her vow and her determination and her conviction to do this task, this mission. Okay, so the second thing is talking about the real world, real suffering. And you can't talk about the sutra, the Buddha's teaching, without talking about suffering. And you can't talk about suffering without looking into our real world, because you see suffering here every day all around us. So that's what Master said at the end of today's talk. She talked about you can't just read the sutra of the 2,500 years ago. You need to also read the sutra of today. And today's sutra is all talking about today's suffering and what we are doing about the suffering today in this world, all around us. It's not just about the past. It's about the present and more about the future. What can we do to shape our future? What can we do right now to plant the seeds for the future? So that was about the real world and real suffering. That's the second key point. The third part is the main objective of cultivation. And this is going to be, once we go through the second part, the third part will become very clear. So we're going to talk about these three things, hopefully with enough time. And we're going to get to one question at the end. So that's my goal. We'll see. Okay, so the vow to continue the Dharma. I think this is very, very important. The first day that Master began her talk, morning talk, this is what she said. So the second trip around Taiwan took about a month. It was indeed actually a month, okay? Not about, it was actually a month. And upon returning, Master said, my health condition was beyond my control. So for 2+ months, in fact, 76 days in total. She was very exact. Master was very, very exact. It was actually 75 days, but August 31st was the 76th day. So to her, she had been absent from morning Dharma talk for 76 days. And that was a long time. So she was counting day by day. She was gone for a month because of the trip. And then upon her return, she had took additional a month and a half to recover in terms of the health condition, okay, because it was beyond her control. So she felt a great unease, okay? She felt great unease with her life. She felt that as long as the Lotus Sutra remained unfinished, okay, this is her word, I will not have the peace of mind. And I think we all know what she was talking about. She was talking about in her life, she would feel that it was unfinished. She would leave something unfinished while leaving this world. So she would not have that. So I will not have this peace of mind if the Lotus Sutra remain unfinished. So I am going to continue again. This is a great vow, even against all the difficulties. This is what she was going to do. In fact, she was talking about how she would regret. She would have that regret in life if she was not able to finish the Lotus Sutra. So you can see that very importantly, that the ideal, the goal, the purpose. Yet, the very, very interestingly, yet, if you follow the teachings even up until today, we haven't even begun into the sutra text of chapter 20. So she wanted to finish the Lotus Sutra, but she didn't want to do it just because she wanted to have this peace of mind of her life. She wanted to make sure that we get it. It's not just to quickly rush through the sutra text and then to tell you, I finished. Now I will have a peace of mind. And I will have this great, great sense of peace now that I can go because I'm done. No. After a whole week, 8 days of morning Dharma talk, she hadn't gone even one word into chapter 20. She was trying to get us prepared to understand the teaching. And this is our teaching. Because she wanted to make sure that we knew what happened before in the previous chapters. She wanted to make sure that we know that we're about to get into chapter 20 and what is it all about. Before all of that happens, she wanted to make sure that we remember what happened within the 75 days, and even more, what happened with the first 19 chapters. She wanted to get us to be prepared. So no, not even a word into chapter 20. A week has passed, and she's continued to talk about things to prepare us. And this is our master. This is her dedication, not just to finish the Lotus Sutra, but to walk this path. So once again, it's not the book, it's not the sutra, it's not the text. She was really talking about leading us this path, on this path, and do we really understand this path? Okay, so now going on to this real world, real suffering, and I think this is very important. This is a very important aspect of the Tzu Chi path. is that we don't just talk about stories that no one can see and understand. Yeah, Master still talks about the fables or the stories that are passed on by the Buddha and by the sages in the old text. She will still share with us stories of when the Buddha was a deer, when the Buddha was an ox, right? Well, we can't sort of see these stories, and there's no one there to bear witness of this really ever happening. So they are just really stories. But in the real world, there are real people that are going through suffering. And that's what the Master is going to bring us. And that's the sutra that's currently being written by the real world, real people, real suffering, and the real bodhisattvas carrying out the bodhisattva path. That's real, and that's what's going to be shared right now. So on September 3rd, this is what Master said. We must be aware of the events of the world. In this day of age, with all the conditions, we finally have this opportunity. So what she's talking about is in contrast to 2,500 years ago, Buddha can only talk about the things happening around that river because no one else went beyond that, right? So if the Buddha, even with his supernatural powers, is able to see worlds and worlds and worlds away, happening in different countries, happening in different places, the disasters that are happening, and all the calamities and all the people are dying or all of such, you can't have Buddha telling all these stories and people believing them. You know, Buddha would be telling them, you know, there are people with skin color darker than us. And then they will be like, whoa, how can there be? We don't ever see these people. That's because they can see, right? So the Buddha had to use stories in the past, like using the animals that everybody see. Oh, you know, elephants? Yes, I was once an elephant. And so people understand that. Well, how can you be elephant? But at least they know what elephant look like. So they are able to relate to these stories, and that's why Buddha always used these stories, right? But now it's different. Now there are technology that bring us right there, right? Right there, live, and seeing all the things happening in the world. And there is Great Love TV, Dai TV, that brought us all around the world to people all around. So we know what's going on, and we know what's happening. So that's what I'm talking about. We can't stay away from the events of the world and be trapped in the text, in the sutra. We have to, with all this condition, we finally have this opportunity to do what? To understand suffering. Buddha spoke of suffering, and that was the first noble truth, right? This is indeed the very noble truth. It's very, very true. It's the truest of the true principles, and you can see it around you. Buddha wanted us to see and know the feelings, the sufferings of the world. And how do you do that? Master said, we have to be absolutely clear about this principle, this idea of suffering. But where do we begin? Nowhere else than our world, because there are people suffering right now. You will learn more by traveling around the world than by just reading books. And what that means is you need to look around the world. These are really happening. It's not just in the storybooks, and it's not just happening on TV too. It's real. There are not people acting. This is real. Okay, it's not just by reading books and text. The more you study, the more you learn. But that's still just knowledge on paper. Okay, that's still knowledge on paper that allows you to talk, allows you to share. But such knowledge has very little impact with our lives. You read about people suffering. You read about famine. You read about drought. You read about war, right? But what are you doing about that? You know, and that's just knowledge, but you're not doing enough to help them. You need to go see them and somehow connect that with our lives. So Master said, therefore, we need to watch, we need to listen, so we will learn. How can we learn and be aware if we don't see or hear? So the first thing is we need to see, we need to hear, and then we learn. And then after we become aware of the suffering, we need to also learn to know and understand, to become aware, to become acknowledged, to understand, to even feel the suffering. So Master says, if you are aware of the suffering, but you don't know the suffering, that's because we are not mindful enough, or is it simply we don't care enough? It's like we watch them on TV and the time comes by and then you flip the channel and that's the next reality, right? You don't care about the previous reality. You might shed your tear when you are seeing the very sad pictures of the young people that are suffering. But the moment that you flip the channel, you are into a different world, and they're still stuck in that reality, but we're moving on. That's because we're not mindful, or is that we don't care enough? So Master is bringing this part out very importantly. It's not enough to just listen. We have to be mindful, to care, to know the suffering. That's true knowing. So Master telling us this, sharing that this is the real world and there's real suffering. And now I'm going to bring you the stories, and I'm going to share with you why. She really knew, and she was really mindful, and the true stories behind all of this. So the first story, I call it Hands Together. And this is the story that was shared by Master on August 31st, talking about the flood in Mozambique. So she said, Master said, there are 7 people in the same family. Their hands were held in this big flood. And they're apparently walking across the water that was that was rushing through. And then one slipped, and then another one couldn't hold on. And then another one was washed away quickly. 4 or 5 people were gone. So there's it's a very true story. And when it came from Master sharing the story, I think, we have goosebumps. I was listening to this and I had goosebumps. And even right now, thinking about this, your family are holding hands and you are trying your hardest to hold on to the person you're supposed to hold on to. And then you slowly see one by one, they're slipping away. And there's nothing you can do about it. Okay, that was the first story. So Master says, after talking about the story, she said, our most beloved family, hands held as tight as possible. But just how tight can it be? And, when you hear this story, you're just, you have this feeling, you can almost imagine yourself holding on for your dear lives. But why does this story carry such power? Why? I thought about this, and I thought it's not just the imagery of the picture of the families holding hands. I think it's Master holding on to us. That's why when she talked about this story, she was talking about not this family losing one by one, but Master holding on to us and seeing us, and slowly one by one we're lost. Imagine all of us. We find our way back to Tzu Chi because of our past affinities. And we come back, and then we make convictions, and we devote ourselves to Tzu Chi because we found the joy, we found our teacher. And then for whatever reason, maybe we found someone that we don't like. Maybe somebody said something that offended us, and then we left. It's almost like she was holding on as possible. The most beloved family, it's the Dharma that's the family. She was holding on as tight as possible, yet we are still losing one by one. And sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes it's because people die. People pass on. Their lives is over. They're sick, they're ill. And that's also how tight of the grip can you have. Okay, so that's a very true story, and that's a very true suffering. But what can you do, right? So Master was able to carry such power because it's real. It's not just talking about the flood. She carried that sentiment. And it's talking about not just looking and hearing, but knowing the story, knowing the people, because you are one of them. This is the second story, also happened in Mozambique. There's this 79-year-old man. His hut had collapsed in the rain, so he had to crawl in and out of the hut. Young volunteers in Mozambique used a little more than an hour with the tools that we provided them, help the old man rebuild his hut. So there's this old man who had to crawl in and out. And there was nothing else he could do because the hut had collapsed. And so now, within a little bit in an hour, these young volunteers were able to help. And not just that, they gave him blankets, a foldable bed, and a mosquito net. They even cooked rice for him and fed him. The old man was so happy that he said he was in heaven. Maybe a little bit an hour ago, before that, he had to crawl in and out. He was in absolute hell. And after an hour or so, his hut was rebuilt. He had blanket. He was now sleeping in the bed, and he had the mosquito net. And now he had rice, and people were feeding him. If anything, he was now a king. People were feeding him. What was the difference? It was in hell, and now he's in heaven. And what's the difference? Third story, flood. And we're not talking about the flood. We're talking about the name flood. The mother is not yet 20, but the second child was about to be born. It was expected. The water level was rising fast from the flood, so the mother had to run to the treetops. What happened? Her husband stood, semi-floating on the ground, and the baby was delivered. The mother was on treetops, and the baby was delivered. The husband, on the ground, floating, received the baby. They had to cut the umbilical cord, but they had no knife. So he took the thread from the fabric, tied a knot around the cord, and ripped it. And that's how they cut the umbilical cord. So Master said, to imagine giving life in such circumstances, the child and the mother were connected by the cord and cannot be parted. It had to be ripped. And when you read the story, like most of the people there, in the Dharma hall, as all of them are monastics. I'm sure none of them had the experience of giving life, but they all understand. We all understand. I will never be a mother in my life, and so I would not understand what it means to have a baby connected to me by the cord, by the umbilical cord, and how difficult it would be to have that knot tied and then ripped it so then they can be parted. And obviously, if you know the story, then eventually they had to rush to the hospital to only see the hospital was flooded already. And for the next 7 days, they had to only eat what? Nothing but water. So you can imagine the very difficult life that they all had. And therefore, the father named this baby daughter that was born on treetops, he named her Flood because she was born in the flood. So that was what happened, right? And imagine, how would Master feel about this? If you think about this, the connection, the child and the mother are connected. You can think about the karma that we have. How can it that we as ordinary beings have the karma on our back? And all the things that Master was trying to do is to part us so that we are no longer building more negative karma, so that we can be free from all the obstacles that we have built upon ourselves. We have to be the wisdom. And Master said that the father was really wise on how to rip the umbilical cord. We have to have the wisdom so that we can be parted from all the afflictions. And that was very difficult. That is very hard. But that's life. We have to learn how to do this. So continuing with that story, Master said, in a couple of days later, after they had these video conferencing, Master said, now the girl, Flood, is 6 months old. She is such a cute baby, and the young couple now has 2 children. The father was thankful of Tzu Chi. He said the life was difficult, but with Tzu Chi's help, they have regained their abilities, and they are content with what they have. So Master then said, we all hope that Flood and her sister can grow up safely and receive an education and contribute to the society. That is our hope. And the last thing that she said on that day was, when the suffering sentient beings have the affinity to meet bodhisattvas, their lives will now have hope. When you see this, you get it. You now understand. You see the story about heaven within one flip. He was in hell and now he was in heaven. Why? Because of bodhisattva. The baby girl Flood, maybe when she was born, we don't know if she was going to get education. We don't even know if she's going to live past, age of 1 or 2. We don't know. But now bodhisattva, they met our volunteers. And Master said, take care of them. You are going to be certain. I'm going to be certain now. Their lives are going to be now with bodhisattvas in their lives. Now they're going to be hope. Now there are going to be more and more hope, just like Africa. Before there were no affinity, now there's going to be an opportunity. And I think that's very important. So the main objective of cultivation, I really think that Master on September 1st, she said, Bodhisattvas are not just in theory. They're not just written in paper. They're not just written in the sutras. They are real in our lives. And we are here to witness that all around us, they are Bodhisattvas in their own. That we can do something to help the people that around us that need help. We are here to bear witness that everyone here is a Bodhisattva, and the Bodhisattva path is right under our feet. Master continues to say that the Lotus Sutra is not separated from this world. Lotus Sutra brings us the Bodhisattva way and brings us closer to the world. So don't just bury yourself in the sutra text, in the words, but rather do the real Lotus Sutra. And that is why after 1 week, 8 days, Master hasn't begun talking about the text, but she was already begin the Lotus Sutra. You had to understand that she began by bringing us back to the suffering, by bringing us to the people that help them, by showing us that that's what we needed to do. And then that's what chapter 20 was talking about, being a role model. Now she is going to talk about this Tangpuqing Bodhisattva, who is our role model, how after all the things that are happening, can still walk the Bodhisattva path. And that's the story. And she began by sharing and making us see the people suffering in the world, and the people that are our role models are doing all the things they can to help the world, to help the suffering. That's the true Lotus Sutra. And that's, even though we haven't begun chapter 20, we already see so many role models in our world. Okay, so that's my sharing for today. It's 7:32. I would like to get to this question. It sounds like a very long question, but the answer is actually, oh no, I'm sorry. It looks to be a very short question. And the answer sounds to be very long, but I'm going to do this in a very quick way. So Confucianism is the teachings by Confucius, the old sage, and a very ancient sage from China, who taught us Confucianism. And Confucianism is mostly about relationships. It's about virtues of building this beautiful relationship between people of different backgrounds, and between people of different role. For example, a father and a son, the husband and the wife, the emperor and the subject, etc. It's talking about relationship, and that's Confucianism. But what we are learning now, and what Master has always been talking about, has always been talking about three things. And that is talking about our relationship with the space. And that's just not talking about people with, not just talking about sentient beings with lives, but also in animated objects. For example, the world, the earth, the environmental protection. That's all talking about things, weather, you know, the glacier, all these things are things that don't have lives. We have to have a relationship with them as well. So, and our relationship with time, it's past, present, and future, and our relationship with people. So Confucianism mostly talking about the virtues of the relationship with people. Yet what our master brought us is more well-rounded. It's 时间空间人与人之间. It's more than just among people, which is also very important. In fact, master spent most of today talking about the relationship with people. But also, we have to be aware of the space around us, and of the time that we have, and then of the people that we encounter. So that's a very brief explanation of what Confucianism is, and also brief explanation of how it relates to us. Master's teaching came a lot of them were influenced not just by the Buddha's teaching, but also by Confucius' teaching. So a lot of it you will see the virtues. A lot of them you will see what is the proper way to interact with people. So it is also very important. But Master brought us to the next level. It's not just around the relationship with people, but also with all living beings. For example, vegetarianism, don't eat other animals, right? Don't eat other lives. And also relationship with objects with no life, which is our world, etc. Okay, that's a very quick response to this question, and that would be the sharing for today. And I'm going to pass it on to our next center, who is going to do the sharing, and my undying gratitude to all of you coming on every week to hear the sharing. Together, we're going to walk this lotus path not just about the sutra, but the true Lotus Sutra path that is in our world. Thank you.
Almost gratitude to Brother Joe, very inspiring sharing today. His sister Hui Xin will be sharing first today. Sister Hui Xin, a past Tzu Chi, now she's already graduated. She's the Tzu Chi sister, Tzu Chi 学姐. Over to you, Sister Hui Xin.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Huisin, and yeah, I'm just graduated last year, and then I have joined in teaching like since 2013, and then
Personal journey.
My personal journey. Okay, to be honest, actually, I have a mind to leave from the teaching family because in my year 2 and year 3, that part I don't know why, because I feel like very tired to contribute in teaching activity, and then I just want to leave. I just want to leave the teaching family. But after that, I will think of our Master Cheng because her spirit, because she contribute her life. I think she contribute everything in Tzu Chi, about 50 years and more. And then I realized why I want to leave, because just a little things, and then I will just learn the spirit from her, and then and and then what else I have to sorry, I was just off of my okay. And past teaching, what do you mean the past teaching? Okay, and then why I want to continue to join the path of Tzu Chi is just like the brother that shared at the first, that he said we have to help everyone when the time of people need. And then I'm happy when I can help the people. I got a big changes before and after I joined Tzu Chi. Before that, I was very shy. I don't know how to share the story of mine. But after that, I tried, like today, I tried to share, because before that, I just used to share in Chinese, in Mandarin, but now I have to share in English. So this is the big changes for me. And I like to smile. Before that, I just don't know how to show my emotion on my face, and then now I know um, how to how to show my happiness, and to spread, and to how to I and spread the positive vibe to my friends, and even the strangers. So now I'm have the faith, and have to, how to say, now I know how to approach the stranger compared to before I joined in Tzu Chi. And the story, the experience. Okay. As we know, in Tzu Chi family, we always work as the group, so we have a lot of the teamwork. And then before that, I always like I can do everything on my own by myself. No need anyone the help, or no need the help of anyone. But after that, I know that the power of myself, only me, is not enough. So I need people. So I learned to gratitude. Sorry. I know how to 感恩 everyone. even though they just help me a little bit, but I know they already do their best part. So the 感恩, how to 感恩 everyone is the best thing I learned in Tzu Chi. Because I think when I joined in Tzu Chi, I feel quite weird when everyone is saying 感恩 and because we are Tzu Chi, so we got the 学长姐, of course, and then we got the Papa Mama who always accompany us to every activities. And then I feel very weird when the people and when my friends calling the 师姑师伯 as a Papa Mama. And then after that, I know why they calling them as Papa Mama, because they really play their fathers and mothers role in Tzu Chi, because most of the Tzu Chi, most of the sorry for the voice. Hello. Okay. Because most of the undergraduate students, they just leave from their hometown and then study in KL. So most of them, they leave their family. So actually, they need the love. And then from that Papa Mama, and then I know because they also busy. Everybody is very busy in their working and in their study, but I'm still very happy when we use our time. We how to say we use our extra time, I think, and then to join in teaching activity, and then to be positive thinking. I think I learned also because when our life is like ups and downs, and then when I have faced the problem or I have lose the faith to go on, and then I will just reading the 金丝 aphorism, and then I will share the aphorism every day also, because I love to share the positive vibes to everyone, and then I love to spread the love of seed to everyone and then spread everywhere. Every 金丝 aphorism has taught us to not think too much, actually, because when we think too much, we will don't want to do, or we will like very afraid of to. I still think of the one friend. She shared me about. She said, how we can contribute everything, but we don't want to request of the return. Yeah, and then he said, when we pour everything to everyone, we will feel empty in our heart. But after that, I will share that actually when we help everyone, we help others, we will feel happy and we will contain. And then a lot of the sharing, I forgot the sharing about this thing. And then she will just realize that actually helping others is no need to think too much. We just do it if that is the good thing, and then we just do it and then continue.
Okay. Hi, good morning, everyone.
Thanks
for Sister Huixing sharing. And you say you graduated last year, and you were a Tzu Chi, right? Yeah. Actually, I heard you say just now. You say you for the beginning, maybe you would try to run away from Tzu Chi at first, in the right thought. But after that, you think that since our master is so dedicated and devoted wholeheartedly to give us a teaching and to inspire everyone to have the compassion and to let us get a chance to see what's the world is in suffering. so that it give you a momentum and to keep going to join Tzu Chi. And now you say before you join Tzu Chi and after you join Tzu Chi is a different, a little bit different. It's like you say you now you will be willing to share, even though for a master things the aphorism, or maybe you say you will quite openly and very share the Dharma to others. This is just back to the chapter 2 of the skillful means the master dimension, that actually if we are willing to share the Dharma that we know, or the teaching that we understand to others, it's just like you are actually not stinginess in sharing the Dharma. This is very important, because you do what you say and say what you do. And I think this is like also is part of a Dharma. And because once you're willing to share, even though a single word or verses or a very short sentence to others, a very short meaning, but as well as is meaningful. I think this is you are very good in not stinging in what you learn. 没有吝啬在你的法哦 ，this is very important. And I hope in the future you haven't be a commissioner right now. Is it you are on the path going through the training of agency and patient? Yeah. Hopefully in very short time, and you must diligently just keep on doing the Tzu Chi work. So you never be alone, because there's still a lot of people and support will accompany you, and especially for master's teaching, and it will totally give you a very good inspiration in your life. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so is it pass on to Sister Xiu?
感恩黄师傅 for such wise insights. 感恩 Sister Hui Xin for your courage, great courage. I remember, I think early this year, when we saw sisters with a group of Tzu Chi, and there's this Tzu Gu who recommended that we should let the Tzu Chi share more often. So Sister Hui Xin very courageously she stepped forward and said, okay, let me try. So we are very grateful to her great effort today for sharing. We hope to hear more from the Tzu Chi and to hear more of the Dharma insights. We are very grateful. We have Sifu and our Hualien teachers to guide us along the way. Okay, today I think we are quite a bit early. If anyone have any questions or insights, they can post it online. Else we will call it a day.
Okay. Well, I think today, just like what Sister Xiaoxing said, I'm also a Tzu Chi, and I can totally understand how Hui Xin is coming from, to be sharing with all these people that you probably never seen before and online. And this is what growing is. You will get to meet a lot of people that you didn't know before, and you're going to meet. You're going to have to work with these people. And the most important thing is that we are on the same path. And I think that's what Master said is she had built this path for us and this environment for us, so that we could be among the people that are the same, and we have to share the same. That we can share the same sentiment and share our same objective and goal. And I see that there is a sister that would like to ask some questions. So I would pass on over to Sister Xiaoqing, and then we will have an actual Q&A happening. Okay, thank you.
Brother Joe. Okay, Sister Sulin, she has live questions. Possible?
Good morning, about Master, brothers and sisters. Good morning. This is a last minute, just because they still have time, so I just want to ask Sifu one question. You see my house, there is this tree, big tree, and then the root is uprooted, and I want to replant the garden, because the root is uprooted, so that the grass is not growing. So I want to replant the grass. So according to the gardener, that we need to chop off the root, a part of the root. So I want to ask Master, is it okay to do that? Because I feel like the tree is hurting, you know, when we chop off a part of the root, because the tree is very big and then the root is coming out. I just need to cut off and make the ground level and replant the grass. So what is Master suggestion? Shall we do that? No, I feel like it is hurting the tree, or just leave it. Do not do anything. Just let the root and just let the root grow, or should we just trim the root? The big root it's very big, the root, and there's a lot of root. No, it's coming into the garden and around the houses, my house. Thank you, Master.
Okay, Sister, regarding to your question, actually, I think it depends, and you must feel at ease for like what to say is like, if you are every day you see this big trees and you feel like you want to cut off and trim off the root, the uproot, what do you call? So, and you want to plant the grass and you want to do some special design in your garden. So of course, for my personal view is that is up to your choice. But if you want to say, I remember when our Jing board in front of the Jing board, and we want to reconstruction of the main road. Since like we start from the Tzu Chi at the quarterly workshop, and this is the main entrance, right straight to the main entrance of the about the main entrance, and they decide to do some changing. How to say? 那个我还在怎么讲？就是我们大殿前的那个正门口 ，actually in front of the abroad, we have a small 那个水池怎么讲？
We have a small pond in front of the in front of our Dharma hall.
I think I speak in Mandarin and I asked Brother Joe to help me to translate. 那个上人其实就是那个大殿前啊，他们本来是要破坏那个水池嘛，就是因为想说要做个菩提大直道。
So there was original design of the abode was that we're going to have one direct path leading up to the front door of the abode, okay, and that would symbolize the Bodhi path that is both straight and wide. And so that was the original plan.
后来好像上人看了那个设计啊，就觉得说，因为他不要破坏太多的原有的树，因为有些树是已经很久，然后上人要保持原，所以他宁可人让树，不是树让人。你为了要设计，你就是破坏那个树，就是树让人，就是让你的设计，哎，我要美，就是破坏，我不惜一切周围把它弄。但是上人说，他是让树的人，因为那个高权的师兄。
The design was to have the path leading directly to the front door. Yet to do so, there will be a lot of landscaping that would have to be done, including cutting down some trees. And so Master said that it should be that the people yielding to the trees and people yielding to nature, and that was the design back then. Because it's more important. There were a lot of trees with tens of decades of life. So that was the design decision.
但最后一个还有，其实大树它可以保持树啊，小草其实它的那个只是美观，那功能对于环境。
So also there's the functionality. Okay, there's the functionality of the tree that are able to to hold on to the soil and to have more functions in nature. And the grass is only for landscaping purpose. And to recap what Master De Huang talked about at first was that it's very important that you're going to see this tree every day, that do not see this tree, whether it's done whichever way, that will give you affliction. And that's what she meant by being at ease, in that if you see this tree and you keep on thinking, oh, I should have done this, or I shouldn't have done that, and then you see this tree and then it will be a symbol of your regret every day, then that's not good. So whichever decision you make, whether it was to live with the tree or do whichever, like what Master did with the abode, whichever way you do, you must be at ease with your decision. So then when you choose it, you see it every day, you will not regret. You know, every day you wake up and you go like, whoa, I shouldn't have done that. You know, I should have listened to this person or that person. And you make a decision and you couldn't live with that decision. Then every day you will have an affliction the moment you see it. And that's not good. That would not be the main purpose. And that's what Master says, to be at ease. And so for abode, to be at ease for Master Cheng was to live with the tree. That was the decision, because that will allow everyone's lives here to be at ease. So Master will not see this path. Instead of seeing a very straight path, she will only remember, I had to cut down all these trees to get to this straight path. Then the meaning of the path will not be there. It will only be seeing the trees that were lost. So that's why she decided to keep the pond and the tree, so she would be at ease. Every time she opens the front door, she would remember that it was done for the trees. Same thing, if you decide to keep the tree, you should remember why, and you should live with that decision happily and be at ease, and that is the most important. Don't let this tree be the source of affliction. So you wake up and you see it and you hated it, and then you're gonna have a bad day all day long, and you're gonna be angry with your family, and that's not good, right? So be at ease. That's the key. I hope that was good for all of you learning landscaping and architecture. And as you can see, that the Q&A is indeed very, very it spreads through all the fields, and we understand how difficult it must be for Master Cheng, who has to deal with all these things every day. Okay, thank you. Okay, so that would be it for today. Thank you, Sister Xiaoqing. Thank you.
Okay, cảm ơn Hoàng Sư Phụ, Jie Sư Phụ, Brother Joe. Today lots of insights. Sister Hui Xin, Sister Suli, she's very happy with the answer. Truly. Wow, you see, within on surface it may look simple, but beyond, deeper, there are lots of principles. Today we are hearing the questions on the trees, but tomorrow actually it could be a lot of matters in our life. We have to move on with whatever decision that we make, but at that moment we hope that we could make whatever decision, if the best for masters is very good, that we can go along, let the trees still there, and then we move along. But if certain space, like Sister Suli, maybe that space is very limited, she has no other choice, she has to do it. She has to make whatever is best for her and be at ease and peace with the decision. We are very grateful. Okay, today very grateful for Brother Joe for explaining a lot of very good review, insights of Master's past 1 week teaching. We also understand why Master could not really enter into the verse, but there are really a lot of stories preparing us, the Living Bodhisattva stories. Okay, Ka'an brothers and sisters, for your Saturday again with us. Ka'an for your presence. Hope each of us could sustain the Dharma joy and take in another piece of Dharma Master and Hualien love to our life. Let us please make 3 bows to the Buddha and Dharma Master as we depart to apply these teachings in our daily life. Let us pay our respects to our teachers of life, universal truth. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. And a bow to our beloved Sư Phụ, Hoàng Sư Phụ, Jie Sư Phụ, who could join us today. Amen. Next Saturday, see everyone next Saturday.